Well, if we're gonna find any ghosts, we better split up.
You're listening to Never Split Up, a horror movie podcast.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Never Split Up podcast. This is episode 80, and we are covering Final Destination, released in 2000. We're doing something a little different. We're starting the franchise off, and we're going to go back to back leading up to the new movie, Bloodlines, that's coming out next month. How you doing, Ant? What's going on?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to cover this franchise back to back leading up to the new movie. We haven't done that yet, and I'm excited to see what your ranking will be after we watch the new one, and I'm excited to review a new movie after a fresh theater watch. I don't think we've done that yet on the channel either, so that'll be exciting.
Yeah, we did Salem's Lot, the new Salem's Lot. That
streaming,
was the one, and then I know we talked about Nosferatu on our year-end lists after we watched it, but yeah, that's kind of new to us, and definitely covering an entire franchise back to back is going to be fun. That's new to us as well, so this is going to be a good time because we have just enough time to get every episode in before the release of the new one, and then we're going to be doing, like you said, we're going to see it in theaters and give you like an instant reaction and review, and then we'll do a franchise ranking.
For sure. I'm excited.
I'm thinking that we should hold off on our scores until the very end.
Okay.
So we won't reveal our scores for each movie until we get to
because the franchise
episode.
ranking.
Yeah.
Yep. I like that.
And then we can reveal our scores, but we can just do the review as normal other than that.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you want to cover anything? I know you wanted to talk about some polls you did.
Yeah, for sure. So first, guys, our newest episode with our guest Oriana Nichelle is 28 days later, so make sure you guys check that out. And keeping in the theme with this, I ran a poll for what is your most anticipated summer horror movie sequel, and I wanted to give the results because it's going to be a good theme with what we're going to be covering. So first place was I Know What You Did Last Summer, with a pretty huge lead, and then second place was Final Destination Bloodlines. Third place was 28 Years Later, and fourth place was Megan 2.0. And actually, the release that you guys voted is the order of my most anticipated. I don't know if you want to give your order of the four from most anticipated to least. Mine's literally the order of the results. So
yeah, I feel, I don't know. I think my most anticipated would have to be 28 Years Later.
Okay.
I think Final Destination and I Know What You Did Last Summer are kind of tied. I actually have a hot take. I think, although I am excited for it, I think I Know What You Did Last Summer is going to be my least favorite of the four.
Really? That's my most anticipated.
Yeah, I know it is. I'm kind of worried about it, that they're just going to do
I'm hearing
like a
good things.
Standard requel legacy sequel, and it's going to just be kind of cookie cutter like that. So we'll see. I hope they take some swings, and I heard some comments by the director and stuff.
Yeah, I liked it.
So, I mean, you never know until you actually see it. We see that stuff all the time, and then it's like, wait, where were that stuff that they were talking about? So we'll see. I that is kind of a hot take, but yeah, I'm excited for all four. I'm a Megan stan. I love Megan, and I think them going in a completely new direction is interesting. I don't know if they're going to pull it off, but that leaves me intrigued as well. So yeah, it's going to be a fun year for horror. And once again, another fun year.
For sure. Yeah, I'm super amped for, like, obviously the three I Know What You Did Last Summer, Final Destination, and 28 Years. And I'm going to go see Megan 2.0. Like, I'm all for seeing it. I want to like it. I'm just not, like, super amped because I just kind of liked the first one. And the second one does look like it's taking a huge, like, T2 swing. So we'll see how it plays out. But I brought that up because if it all plays out after we cover Final Destination, leading up to the new one, we are going to try to get in 28 Weeks Later before that movie comes out. And we're going to try to cover Megan before the sequel comes out. And then we're also going to do I Know What You Did Last Summer and kind of like a little predictions of what we want for that new movie before that comes out. So those are all in the works for releasing, the installments prior to the ones that are be coming out in theaters. So look out for that and get our fresh watches on those movies so we can talk about it and coincide with the new release dates, see how that plays out for the channel. And the other poll I ran was for our top 10 horror movie plot twists, and holy shit, was that a close one. Um, it was versus Psycho
Refresh
versus
me.
Saw.
Okay, yeah, Saw versus Psycho. Okay.
I won by 2 votes. So it
Oh
was
wow,
very
Psycho
close.
won. Wow.
Yeah, Psycho won by 2 votes.
Okay.
Very close.
Nice.
Very, very close. Saul took the cake on Instagram though, for sure. And then just so 2 votes. 2 votes. So that was a close one. That was fun. I love when it's close like that. I love it.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, so I'll keep posting polls, and yeah, check out those other movies, guys, because we're gonna try to, release those to coincide with the new releases. So that'll be fun. See if it does anything for the channel, and see if you guys like that.
Yep. All that good stuff. And I think you mentioned it. We covered 28 Days Later, just released as our latest episode. Please check that out. We are, at least I am really proud of that episode. I thought it came out really well.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun time. And look out for the sequel coming up. And yeah, look out for all that stuff. So Megan is getting a summer release this time?
Yeah, so literally we're going to have to cover, because 28 Years Later comes out June 20th, and Megan 2.0 comes out June 27th. I don't know why they did that, but that's the release order for those two.
Yeah. Okay.
And then a couple weeks later is I Know You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be action-packed summer, which is good. It'll help get us through to almost the Halloween season. So,
but I'm excited to talk about Megan because I know how much you love it and I like it. But it's going to be a cool conversation from the different perspectives on that too.
Yeah. Okay, well, without further ado, let's dive into Final Destination, the franchise, and we're obviously going to start with the first movie released in 2000. Yes. I know this is one of your most beloved franchises, Ant, so why don't you give us the cast and crew and the synopsis? And
for sure.
Get going here, yeah.
All right, guys, so the IMDb synopsis is: after getting a premonition about a plane crash on a school trip, Alex, a student, saves a few of his classmates. However, their situation gets complicated when death starts chasing them. It was directed by James Wong, who also went on to direct Final Destination 3. It was written by Glenn Morgan, James Wong, and Jeffrey Reddick, who is also coming back for the new one. And it stars Devon Sawa, Horror King Devon Sawa, Ali Larder, she's a Scream Queen as well, Kerr Smith, Kristen Cloak, who's in the Black Christmas remake, Tony Todd, the fucking legend. Tony Todd makes his first appearance in the franchise in this one. We have Sean William Scott and a bunch of other little side characters. So again, Final Destination, kind of like Scream, always comes to play with the cast too, especially in this first one. And like Nolan said, it came out in 2000, so we love our 2000s horror, and this is the start of a franchise. And I believe, check out our franchise ranking, but I believe this was like in my top 5 favorite horror franchises. So it's very important to me. So I'm really excited to cover this whole franchise back to back. It's going to be so much fun.
Awesome. Without giving too much away, do you like every movie, or is there one that's maybe like you don't like?
I'm gonna give something away, but it's the obvious one. The fourth one's my least favorite. It's not a good movie, but it's silly fun.
You spoiled it.
It's silly fun. It's because when we get to the review, it's gonna be like it's not good, but I still can laugh at it and watch it. But everything else besides 4, I really, 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 really do love, and I have fun with 4 too.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm excited to do our franchise ranking. I think I have my ranking, but I've never actually watched these back to back before, so this is going to be cool.
You said you have your ranking? Without the new
I
one,
have my preliminary ranking. I don't know if it's going to change, though, because we're covering these back to back, and I've never watched them like this before, so it might change.
What about you? Do you have like one that you like don't like to get it out of the, or you don't even know? It's kind of like you have to see when you get with the rewatches.
I enjoy all of them, I think.
Yeah.
I've only seen 4 maybe once or twice, and maybe that's because it's maybe that not great. So I remember it's like the NASCAR opening, right? That's the 4th one. Okay.
It's not horrible, but it's like it's not on the level. It's like stupid. It's pretty. It's and they're all kind of like over the top.
They're all pretty stupid, but
like
that's
that
what makes
one,
it
like
endearing. Yeah,
yeah. But that one, like it's not great.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do all these rewatches and solidify my rankings. Then we'll throw the new one, Bloodlines, in there at the end as well. So we'll see. Okay, let's get going. Overall thoughts? Do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, guys, I recommend this one. I mean, it's one of my franchise babies, and it's 2000s horror. It's the one about this movie though is when you go through the franchise, I mean, it all has an element of silliness because you have to kind of be over the top when you're doing these death sequences and death's coming to get you. But the first one plays it the most straight, and it's the most kind of like, I don't know if I want to use the term serious because it does have a little like over the top, but it's not like, I feel like 2 through 5 take advantage of the ridiculousness and over the top blood gags and everything. The first one's kind of a little bit more contained and straightforward. It doesn't have the same tone as the rest of the franchise. It has silly moments, but I feel like for the most part, this is the most like serious in tone. And you could tell it kicked off the franchise. I absolutely was terrified of the opening scene with planes. I used to be I don't know if I was like scared to fly as a kid because of this movie. I guess maybe I was subconsciously, but I got rid of that fear. But I still, every time I go on a plane, you're damn right, I think about Final Destination every time. And the thing about this franchise, and I guess this movie will stick with specifically this movie, I feel like you have so many people who are like, supernatural movies don't scare me or slashers don't, like something, everyone reacts to horror differently, like what scares them and what doesn't. I just loved it all because I have fun with it. But for Final Destination, there is something that will stick with someone because it's about everyday things that are out to get you. So while the movie as a whole may not scare you, something in the movie is going to make you think after you watch it and be scared, whether it's making dinner or driving in a car or getting on a plane or walking outside to get your mail. Something's going to stick with you. You're going to get freaked out from this franchise. It's about everyday things that could kill you. So that in and of itself is scary. So that separates it from the other, like, subgenres. Like, that subgenre scares me. This one doesn't. So that's why Final Destination, I think, is so special because it has something that will scare everybody. But for this first one, I think the cast is great. I love Devon Sawa. We usually don't have like a male person in that kind of role who sees the premonition. It's usually like a female protagonist. So I like that for the OG. They started with a male character, which was awesome. Ali Lauder, she's my girl. I love her. She should be in everything. So much horror. She's my baby girl. I love her so much. We'll have to cover the rest of her horror filmography. And I just think that the set pieces are awesome. I remember the first time I saw certain sequences, we'll get into it, but I was like jumping out of my seat. I think the first time I saw this was on like VHS, like on a Friday night. I didn't see this in theaters. But I saw every sequel starting with 3 in theaters, I believe. But yeah, so I think that this is a blast. It's a good introduction to the franchise. It had some kinks to work out, I feel like, as the franchise went on, but overall, this is like a very, very, very strong one that I go back to constantly. I mean, it's one of my favorites of the 2000s. It's one of my franchise. It's one of my babies. So yeah, I really love this movie. And it's quick. It's a good quick. It keeps the pace going. I actually think that it might be the longest of the franchise and it still feels quick. It's 98 minutes and it keeps its pace. It's good. I love me a nice quick movie. And it's just the characters work together. You love to hate some of them. You care about the rest. I care about the cast in this movie, which is also important. So I don't want to see them die. And it's a good introduction to the franchise. So I'm all for it. I love it. I watch it every year. Watch it a couple times a year. And I can't wait for more. What do you think about this first one?
People that listen know I have a soft spot for first entries of franchises.
Yeah.
This, I guess, is no exception. I don't know if it's my favorite or not. I go back between this and another one. But
okay. I know. Okay.
it's solid. Like you said, it's a solid runtime. It's very tight. It doesn't have a lot of filler in it. It gets right to the point. There's not a lot of levity. It's very straightforward, unlike the sequels. I like that. I think maybe it could have gone a little bit into
like more
the
over
campiness.
The top or something.
Not even over the top. Yeah, just the campiness. The things I don't love or that are not as memorable that you highlighted are the set pieces and the kills. I feel like some of my favorite kills in the franchise don't come from this movie, but this movie as a whole is just so tight and so good. And like you said, the cast is pretty good. They're so good. Ali Lauder and Devon Sawa are so good that I wanted more of their characters. I talk about the runtime and how it's boom, boom, boom. We're pretty much dealing with death the entire time, and Alex's character figuring out, the puzzle, if you will, of why death is coming for them, that we don't get a lot of time to breathe with these characters, and especially like them interacting with each other. It's all about like the crisis that's at stake, which is fine. It's just kind of a note that I had. I maybe would have liked to see a little bit more progression of those relationships. But yeah, like you said, there's something for everyone in this franchise. And although I'm saying these things, there are people that probably, like you as a kid, are terrified of going on planes or are terrified of listening to John Denver because of this movie. So
I love that.
while it doesn't necessarily strike a chord with me in this movie in particular, it's really well done. It's really well done. And I just love going back to these franchises and the first movie of these iconic franchises and kind of seeing where it all began and like seeing the script play out and like thinking this came from somebody's mind, which is pretty cool. I actually read that this was originally a script for an X-Files episode, which was pretty interesting. And the writer, Jeffrey Reddick, he was convinced to turn it into a feature-length film, which is pretty awesome. But it feels very X-Files-y in a way, so that kind of makes sense. I have a love-hate with James Wong, the director. He directed quite possibly the worst movie ever
your Dragon
made.
Ball Z thing,
Dragon
right?
Ball Evolution.
I saw that on his filmography.
Yeah, it's a win for him here, but he's a little tricky in my mind. But I'll give him a pass because he did make Final Destination, and I believe he directed the third one. Yeah, okay, the third one as well. So 2 solid entries in the franchise for sure. But yes, it's a recommend for me for sure. It's a fun time. This is the ultimate franchise where you have your buddies over, you have a sleepover. I remember in high school we used to have sleepovers all the time. I'm sure we watched this movie at one point.
Oh yeah.
And it's you grab your popcorn and just have fun with your friends, have fun with your significant other, and just have a good time.
Yeah, it's just a fucking good time, which is what 2000s horror was about, and I fucking love that it's kind of coming back a little bit. Now, clearly, we just listed the sequels that are coming out that coincide with this, but I think what you said about leading into more about the campiness and like this installment doesn't have your favorite kills, I think that kind of goes into what I was saying. I guess you were saying that it got its groove in like the second one going on to like embrace the camp of it all a little more than the OG, which kind of played it more straight. So I think that kind of goes into
and I also, while I do love the characters in this first one, I do like the more larger than life characters in the sequels. They are a little bit more memorable to me. You know, the only reason you have, you know, Clear and Alex are really great, but it's Ali Larter and Devon Sawa. Of course, you're going to remember them. But so other than the name recognition, the name brand of the actors, their characters are played very straight, and they're, dare I say, kind of not very memorable compared to some of these other characters. Even some of these side characters in the sequels are just, like I said, so larger than life that they leave an impression. So I think that's really kind of where they found their groove. I would agree with you in those sequels. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like as a cast, like specifically like the name cast, I feel like this might be my favorite cast, but I can agree with you with characters. I have more other characters I love in the sequels. What about, with that, I guess, is your ranking of the opening premonitions the same as your ranking of the franchise so far? You don't have to give, I'm just curious, because mine's not, and I know a lot of people's are.
I don't know. I'm excited.
I was just curious.
I have to, I'm kind of leaving it open-ended because I really want to watch all these back-to-back. Yeah, because there's, I like every opening. There's things I like about every opening, so.
Me too.
Yeah, I really have to.
Okay, I was just curious. I feel like a lot of people have, like, my ranking is my ranking of the openings.
Like this one, for example, this airplane is way different than the other openings in the sequels because it doesn't really get hokey at all. It's literally just a plane crash. It doesn't show you, like, you know, the intricacies of the absurdity of why the plane crashed. It just shows the plane falling apart, which is a very real fear. So, you know, this opening, I feel like, stands by itself compared to the sequels because it is kind of so different in tone and different in what they were kind of going for.
Yeah, and I guess we might as well get into the opening, but I feel like it scared me, I guess, as a kid, and even now I'm like, because like you said, it does feels, it's not hokey and over the top, like, for, like, the thrills and chills, and, like, it kind of feels real, which might be why it unsettled me so much, you know, back in the day watching this opening, because it doesn't feel like, oh, that's a horror movie kill. It feels like, no, like, that probably would happen with the plane caught on fire, but, like, you know, it's kind of, like, visceral, I feel like, the opening, more than over the top, like, oh my god, what kind of kill they're gonna do next.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that for this.
Yes.
But you're right, it's so different. It's so different from the tone of the rest of the franchise with the opening alone.
Well, because when you get into the sequels, you now have an established IP, and you have moviegoers expecting craziness, so they have to lean into that. So that's why we get that in the sequels. But for the original, it really allows them to kind of just go simplistic and straightforward, and I think it works for this first one.
Even like the subtle, like the suspense build up, the sequels have it too with like the signs that the protagonist sees, but this one you really like slowly, like he's at his house in the beginning, his mom rips the tag off the suitcase, which is bad luck. He goes to the place, he's going to the bathroom with his friend. It's not like a couple of things and we're in it. There's more of like a suspenseful build up because the actual plane crash isn't like a 15-minute sequence. It really is kind of like 3 to 5 minutes realism, like the plane's going down. So you kind of have the time in the beginning to just do suspense versus let's throw everything at the screen, which I like. For a first chapter, I think that was important.
I love that they set up Alex's character to this paranoid high schooler.
I know.
I mean, he sees these quote-unquote signs, and the only reason they're signs to us is the creepy music that plays and the sound design.
I'm happy you brought up the music, because I fucking love the music in this movie, by the way.
But it's like normal shit that happens to this guy, like and he's like freaking out. So it's almost like, is he having premonitions like all the time, and he just happens to be right about this plane crash? Because this guy is fucking paranoid.
He is paranoid.
100.
I feel like it also goes into like, I guess someone who does, because obviously he's nervous to fly. So I wonder if his paranoia is just coming from he's looking for excuses to be nervous to fly. So he's like, this, that. But because I was like that too. I'm like, oh my God, we can go for the cues. But it's funny, some of the things like his snack tray, like he opens it and it just falls down. I'm like, all right. But there are a couple of things where I'm like, okay, that is a little creepy. That's weird.
Yeah. Yeah, like even just stuff in the airport that's like normal stuff that happens, but he notices it and picks up on it. It's like, dude, I don't know if that's a sign. I think that you're just being a little paranoid.
But
he turned out to be right, so. I believe
how
it's
do you
Mrs. Luton who says, you creep me out. Alex, you creep me out. Stay the fuck away from me. Yeah, Miss Luton.
She's so, first of all, everyone is so rude to him after he saved their lives. Besides Ellie Lauren, besides Clear.
Yeah. Well, his friend, Todd is pretty cool. I mean, he's kind of,
it's his parents that
stuck
are the assholes,
between a rock and a hard place, so he kind of distances himself, and I don't blame him. I mean, that's a weird thing to happen.
No, I think it was more his like dad who's pretty much like pulled him away from Alice because of obviously his other son was killed on the plane, so he was freaked out about what happened. But I don't think that was Todd's choice. So I do agree. He has his back, but Clear is the only one who's actually like there.
It's actually one of the things I wanted to touch on is after the accident, you get this, especially like in the memorial scene and stuff. I think it's pretty interesting that each character reacts to Alex differently. So Clear is very thankful.
Thanking him.
She's thanking him. Thank you for saving my life. You have Billy, Sean William Scott's character, who's like kind of like a hard ass, and he treats him like, oh, don't expect me to kiss your feet and stuff like that. You have Todd.
No, that's Kara Smith. That's Carter. Who's Billy? Billy is the one who's like asked like, am I gonna die after taking his driver test?
Oh yeah, he's the paranoid one. Yes, I got the two confused. Yeah, he's the paranoid one. So he's asking him for fucking. I'm surprised he didn't ask him for lotto numbers.
Or he's like, if I ask out, what's her name? She's gonna say yes. Like that part.
So that's how he reacted. Yeah, you have Carter, who's kind of just
he's the asshole,
kind of an asshole about the whole thing, and then you have the teacher who's just creeped out and scared. So I like how you have the range of emotions from all the characters.
And Carter was like right away, even in the opening scene, he was like, "You made me like." Fighting with him on the plane, and obviously, Alex saved them. So
and Terry is just there. She's just kind of
the girlfriend there. Until she has her moment when she's like, "Fuck this, I'm done," and that's her moment for sure. But yeah, I do agree with you. I guess I never thought about it like that. I like that he has different dynamics with everyone he saved. I thought that was very smart writing choice.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty much right after the memorial scene, he has that little heart-to-heart with Todd, and they were like, you were going to go to this, whatever, we're going to go to New York together, whatever. They said they're going to go somewhere together when it blows over and his dad's okay. And then we go to the first post-airplane sequence death, which this one also scared me as a kid too for some reason. Todd's death. I don't know why. I guess when the strangulation, I remember his eyes when they're bloodshot as a kid. that freaked me out a lot.
This one's hard to watch. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
because
tough
he's
watch.
fighting. Their scissors are. Yeah, I agree, and it's not bloody. It's uncomfortable. I would say I'm just uncomfortable
Yeah,
watching.
anything with the neck and throat, it's definitely a.
And the
hard to
way
watch.
it's like hanging on, and he's just dangling. I don't know. There's something about it that freaks me out every time. Still, I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
he's selling it though.
He's selling it. It's definitely one of those moments where you're yelling at the TV because all he has to do is just kind of take a second, compose
Right.
himself, and he probably
not
could have
panic.
gotten out of
Right.
the situation. But the more he panicked, the tighter it got and the worse it got. And it was
Right.
like, oh my God, that's
Right.
so.
And who knows what other
Awful.
tricks Death would have had up his sleeve if he behaved enough to get out.
Yeah, so this is kind of our first experience with death.
Mhm.
What did you think about the sequence and like kind of the liquid kind of sucking back into the toilet?
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
So the first time the first time watch of this, I didn't know if it was just gonna be like real life accidental happenings or if there was gonna be a supernatural element.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously we find out really early in the movie that there is a supernatural, death, whatever you want death to be. Death is at play. And at first, I feel like, am I going to like this? But I'm like, yeah, because it lends itself into the kookiness of it all. So I like that you see the water come up and you see, like, even you see a couple of sequences, there's like black shadows. So there is like death is a presence. It's not like just a freak accident. So it works for me. I do giggle every time after Todd dies. The water just keeps, goes back in because death's done its job. But it works. It worked for me. I was nervous the first time I saw it, but especially on rewatch, I'm like, okay, this is part of it, and I'm all for it. What about you? Were you kind of like, eh?
I don't mind it. The only thing I'm kind of on is the shadow work and the fact that we
Oh, really?
quote unquote
Okay.
see death and the characters can kind of feel and see death right before it happens. I like sticking to just it being a force of nature, and
Okay.
I don't mind it having like a design and it being intentional, but I don't like the visual because I like to
Okay.
be on the edge of my seat not knowing when anything's going to happen. So I feel like that's a cue to me to
Okay.
start looking out for, death.
Gotcha.
So I don't love it. I don't dislike it. I think it's fine,
Right.
but do they do that a lot in the sequels? Do they have a lot of
I
like
think
the shadow
I
stuff?
don't believe. I think the shadow stuff is mostly in the first one.
That's what I thought.
The sequels, there's obviously like death is doing its thing, but it's not like you don't
Yeah.
see shadows, and I think it's just done in different ways. But it's always like death is always obviously a presence in the whole franchise.
yeah,
But
for
so
sure.
that works for you. It's just like the
Yeah, that works for me.
execution
I
of
just
some of
don't
the
like
things. Okay.
it manifesting itself like physically.
Gotcha.
I don't
Okay.
like it being like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I could be wrong, but I honestly don't think that the shadows happen in any of the sequels. But I could be wrong.
Yeah,
There could be a couple.
that's why I
have to
was asking
rewatch,
you
yeah.
because I really don't remember them in
Yeah.
sequels. Yeah.
I think it's the most present, like the shadows literally you see go across the screen in the first one.
Yeah.
What do you think about so Alex goes to all these scenes of the crimes. It's like Alex is not doing himself any favors either. So he shows up at Todd's. First of all, again, his dad blames him for his son killing, which is not fair. I get his dad. The parents are horrible, I feel like, in this movie. Because everyone I
Yeah.
get it's a freaky thing, but like
I don't know.
dude,
I mean,
come
it's
on.
pretty suspicious, man.
Well, it gets
the
really suspicious once we
the
get to Lewin.
FBI's, investigating him. He shows up at the house when Todd dies.
Yeah.
It's pretty fishy. I as
But
a
it's so-
distraught father, I would probably feel
yeah.
I don't know if I'd be so much a dick, but I give him a pass,
And it's almost like Alex is like, because Clara literally is there too, because she followed the kid, and she's like, "Get out of here! Like, what are you doing?" I'm like yelling. I'm like, "Yeah, get out of here! What are you like sneaking up on?" But I don't think he deserves like the treatment he gets from the adults for the most part. But yeah, so that was the first death, and that like kind of sets the tone. I feel like more for this movie of the style of deaths you're gonna get. I feel like as the movie goes on, you get a little hokey, but like you said in the first one, it's kind of just mean and straightforward, which is very different from the sequels. But that first one always stuck with me. And then the second death is kind of fun because it's a jump scare.
Yeah, that one is probably the most
Yeah.
straightforward. There's no build up or anything. It's
Yeah.
just a straight up jump scare death. Yeah,
I love
Terry.
that. But before that, they do go visit the mortician, Tony Todd, Mr. Bloodworth. I fucking love his cameos in this franchise, and this is no exception. It's just his monologue is so creepy. I love at the end he's like, I'll see you soon. I'm like, I love
Yeah.
his smile. it's just that voice. I mean, no one does it like Tony Todd. And he kind of like gives subtle hints about death, but again, there's nothing, which I kind of like about the franchise too, not just this one. It's never over explained to us what death is or what it's doing. It's just these subtle like creepy cues from Tony Todd throughout. It's like, is he the Grim Reaper? Is he working? Is he part of it? Like, you never get a straight up answer. At least we don't know what's gonna happen in part 6. But I kind of like that it's kind of vague, but you know there's supernatural at play. You don't know what his role is. He kind of knows everything. He knows their names. It's kind of it's weird, but we don't get an explanation. So I appreciate Tony Todd alone, and that scene is creepy. But I kind of like that we don't get a straight up explanation as well.
No, not at all. In this first one, not at all. You don't.
Yeah.
You just take it as, he's an expert of death, and maybe
Right.
he's seen something similar to this before. But I don't think he even understands it. He's just interpreting it how he sees fit, and he's giving them kind of cryptic messages and stuff. And it's pretty funny. Yeah, he's awesome. I mean, coming off the heels of Candyman, for them to get him as a cameo is pretty fun.
Yeah, I think the most he reveals, like, you disrupted Death's plans and blah, blah. So I like that kind of thing. I love that sequence.
Yeah, but that's just his interpretation. It's not like he has...
Do you think that he is involved with, like, Death, or you just think he's, like, that's his intuition?
I think he is very intimate with Death. I don't think he's, like, in cahoots with Death, if that's what you're asking me.
I agree. There's some theories that, like, he literally is the Grim Reaper and he's working for Death and Supernatural. So I came to see both, but I had more on, like, your side, where he kind of just is literally, that's his life day in and day out, and he sees Death all the time.
Yeah.
So he's kind of giving him, it's almost like the expert.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so what do you think about the cafe scene where they all, like, intertwine with each other and we get the big Terry moment? The first time I saw that, I did jolt, and I was like, this is fucking awesome.
No, that's fun. Yeah, we have every character pretty much kind of come together in one scene, which is not very often. And it culminates with Terry just flipping out, saying, like, I'm not going to let this plane crash define me, and I'm going to move on. And it's like, okay, girl, we get it. That bus, man, didn't even step on its brakes. It's like it was headhunting for her. She was in the script for a while.
I love how her last line to Carter is like, if you want to spend your time, fucking fighting Alex, you can just drop fucking dead. And then she literally drops dead. It's so well played. So well played.
The thing that was the most jarring was after the kill, they just cut. And there's no, like, aftermath of them kind of dealing with...
Yeah, you see the blood spatter on him, and then it cuts to Alex, like, putting a pill in his water and, like, sitting down on the couch.
Yeah,
and, like,
he's being... Yeah, exactly. He's starting to investigate again. It's like, oh, okay, we're just moving on. Yeah.
It was very jolting, but I just love that fucking jump scare death. It's so fucking awesome. But to your point, even at the cafe before Terry's death, even Claire's like, he's like saying these signs, and she's like, okay, so coffee, if I drink like, she's calling him out, like, your signs are ridiculous at this point. Like, they're not, there's nothing going on with them. You're just making craziness out of nothing. So she, even at first, is still questioning, like, what is this all about? I like that. I like that everyone's not fully on board with him right away. It takes some convincing, which is typical for horror movies, but you think a character like Claire, because she did get off the plane when she didn't have to. She wasn't involved in the fight. So she had that feeling from him, but she still needed some convincing as well, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
So after that, you get the whole, obviously a couple more scenes of dialogue, and then the whole Miss Luton sequence, which to me is like, Alex, what the fuck are you doing in this sequence? Because they're on to him now.
Yeah.
This is bad. This is bad Alex move. This is bad. This is real bad. But I do love the set piece of Miss Luton. She's packing up because she has to, she's trying to move. I guess she wants to escape from this. And she peeks out her window. She's like, I don't even feel safe looking out my window anymore. And then she sees Alex, which, again, well played. So she calls the detectives and they come take him in. And he plays it off. He's like, just checking her tire pressure. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing, dude? Go knock on the door or something if you want to I know she's not going to let you in, but he's just so sketch. He's so sketch. He's not making it easy for himself.
No, definitely not. The FBI agent Shrek and the other agent are pretty funny.
I forgot the one's name was Shrek. It cracked me up.
Yeah, they just don't know what to do with this kid. They're like,
right,
we can't hold him, but
because there's nothing really on him, but he's just fucking weirdo. He's being weird.
He's so hell-bent on figuring it out that he doesn't care about anything really, like his himself, his future, the
Right.
optics of it. I mean, have a
He,
little
like-
tact, dude. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I know. I feel like once he like mapped out the seating chart of the airplane and found out the order, he's just like logic went out the window and he's just going to each person to save them, which is great, but he's not doing it in a logical way. He's doing it in a way that's making him look like he could be the murderer. And
No,
he's
yeah,
not
and there's a
being
couple
safe.
characters in this film that bring up to Alex, like, dude, do you think you're God? Like, you think you can actually
Right.
stop death? And he has this like hubris to him that he's like this savior because I think he saved those people from the plane. I think he has a little bit of a kind of a a complex to him that he thinks he's the only one that can save these people from death again. And I love how it's kind of talked about in this film. I think it's one or two different characters mention it to him, and they're like, "Dude, you're just like an 18-year-old kid. Like even if death is like hell bent on us, like you're not gonna stop it, you know." So I do like that commentary. I feel like in the sequels we get a little bit too wrapped up in one character knowing and then convincing the friends, and then it's like a team effort to try to defeat death. But I like the nuanced approach that this film has, where it's just kind of Alex running around acting crazy, and his friends, like you said, they don't instantly believe him. They eventually kind of get on board, but they're still like,
they do, yeah.
Even though they kind of believe what's happening, they still don't believe that they can help Alex, and Alex can, you know what I mean? Like it's a cool dynamic.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
and it doesn't go like 100% one way or the other. You kind of had that happy medium, which I think does help this movie as well. With him and the friends. But what do you think about the Miss Luton set piece? They got an explosion. You got some stabbings in her neck, stabbing in her chest. She got a prolonged death a little bit. She trails through the house with her blood going everywhere.
Yeah, now this was not my favorite kill, but this was my favorite set piece. I loved this set piece. I think this was probably my favorite.
Kristen Cloak does a good panicked reaction and performance after she gets like the initial from the computer, whatever pops up in her neck. She's like, when she pulls it out, she's like, she's good. She's very good.
Yeah, this is the one set piece where death is kind of having a little fun. I feel like, sure. It's got the water dripping into the computer, and it's got all the elements at play, and it's got the knife work and all that stuff, and the glass. It's pretty clever. I think they did a good job with this set piece.
I feel like you're right. It has like hints in the sequence of like what's to come in the sequel. Like, what they play with in the sequel. This is the first one that kind of has a little bit of that, at play.
Oh, definitely. It definitely has that mousetrap feel to it. That old
yeah.
Yeah, definitely, which they definitely do in the sequels. Yeah.
So after they let Alex go after being questioned, after being picked up from her house, he goes back there and goes in, and he does the most dumb thing. Actually, Miss Luton does something dumb when she's like already on the ground. She sees a towel, but it's attached to like the kitchen knives, and I'm like, what are you doing? Do not grab that towel. That's a big never split up right there. And she goes to grab it, and of course when she pulls the towel down, the knives fall too, and it goes right into her chest, which ends up leading to be her final bow after the chair falls on top of that. But Alex, after he goes in, he's like, oh my god, what do I do? He's like, I'm gonna help you. And then the chair goes on her, pushes the knife in, and he fucking does the horror movie trope of pulling the knife out himself, and he implicates himself, your fingerprints. So again, two never split up moments back to back right there. But overall, I think that sequence is a lot of fun because of how she sells it and how, like you said, it has that mousetrap, suspenseful type of feeling. And then the house explodes. We get another explosion. A lot of explosions in this movie. I love it.
This is the point where it's kind of the point of no return, I feel like, is for Alex, because now there's direct evidence that links him to a murder. So the FBI guys can definitely
and
charge
Billy
him.
sees him running out of the house before it explodes too. Billy's there too. So, and I like how we get the four of them together. Billy, Carter, Clear, and Alex. They're like all talking, and he's like, Carter's like, I don't care if you did it, like as in kill Miss Newton, but did you know she was gonna die? And then he gets the whole like, yeah. He's like, oh shit, you know who's gonna die next? And I love because Carter reacts differently. He's like, oh fuck it, I'm gonna die anyway. And he like fucking puts them all at jeopardy without death even being involved when he goes the crazy car when he's driving crazy with that. I'm like, that's how he's reacting. So it is cool to see how, again, he's an asshole. He's like the asshole trope of the movie, but it is interesting to see how he reacts versus Clear, Billy. It's cool dynamic to see, like, he's just like, fuck it, I'm gonna take death into my own hands and I'm gonna end it myself. So I like that they played with that a little bit too, even if it was just for a couple minutes.
Yeah, I agree. What do you think of this whole train scene and Billy?
I like it. Well, and then because he's an asshole, Carter, so he's like, he goes to the train tracks and they're all in there. So it's not like he's just doing it to himself. It's like, yo, you have 3 other lives here. So they get out of the car eventually, and then Carter like does his bullshit things like, hey guys, it's not my time. I'm trying to be like the cool guy. And he tries to start the car and it won't start, and then he's like, oh fuck. Like, I'm gonna die. The train's coming. I love that. I love his what's Kara Smith? He has a good switch from like asshole to like panic too in that moment. And then of course Death is like locking him in, and his seatbelt won't come off. So that's where Death comes at play. And then Alex, like you said, being the quote unquote hero, savior that he thinks he is, he does end up. I do like the switch that you think obviously, okay, it's Carter's time to go. He's the asshole, but he gets saved right before the train hits the car. I do like that little switch up. And then right after that, when Billy's doing his little monologue, like, yo, fuck, it was supposed to be you. It's gonna take you. It's not gonna take me. I'm like, Billy, dude, you're standing too close. And I do love, it kind of has a little bit of a Terry vibe with the jolt of the piece of metal that goes and slices his head off. But I also remember the first time my jaw kind of dropped, like, oh shit, I didn't expect that to be his death. But I love that sequence so much. Then you just see his body like slowly fall over. It's another fun death scene. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's definitely a jaw dropper, this scene. I think Death was like a little pissed off.
Yeah.
So Death was like, all right, I'm just going to get a quick kill.
Right away. Yeah, right away.
Yeah.
I do appreciate that so much. Very good set pieces, though. Very good sequences. I want to know the budget, actually. So, this was 23 million and it made 113 million worldwide. So it did well. And the budget, I feel like that's a good budget for the set pieces they had.
Yeah.
So this worked for you too, the sequence? Because then after this, they kind of all... How do you feel about them all splitting up? Because Alex kind of goes into his little, like, I don't know, shelter cabin, you want to call it, to, like, save, like, protect himself from death. And then Claire's go back to her house, and Carter kind of is just exit stage until, like, the finale. Do you like that they all kind of split up for a little bit before the finale, or do you wish they all, like, stuck together and try to, like, go through the rest of the movie?
Well, yeah, I don't mind it because I know he thinks he's next, I believe.
Right. Yep.
So, and he's trying to hide from the police, from the FBI.
Yes.
So she's hiding him out in like a safe house. So he doesn't want anyone near him.
Right.
At this time, it's not until a little bit later that he realizes that Clear is
she's
next.
the one who's next. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think it makes sense.
I think it makes sense. Yeah, that she kind of keeps him in like her second house or cabin, whatever in the woods. Yeah.
That he used
and
to
he
have.
has his little scene where he's all like paranoid. He thinks
he has a little,
the closet goes to open and he keeps the closet closed, and he thinks that was him shooting Death. It's like, I don't know if that was Death.
Like you said, he's paranoid, and he's even more paranoid now that he's going through this and really getting his head. But he's trying to be smart. And I think logically it makes sense because obviously Carter, after his car is smashed, he's going to have to deal with some police stuff and all that. So it kind of like logically makes sense why he kind of like goes away for a bit. But I think I do like that after he realizes that, oh fuck, did all this and I'm not even the one who's next. It's Clear, and then she's dealing with the whole classic horror movie finale with a thunderstorm, a big storm's coming. I do love that. I do love Clear too because she goes to save the dog that's like chained out there in a fucking storm. But I'm like, girl, you're gonna get yourself killed. But I like the way that all plays out, and I like how the detectives, they go to her first asking for Alex, and she's like, I don't know where he is. I don't know. He's not talking to me. I do like how it all plays out where they're looking for him, but they're not. I think it would have been tacky and stupid if he was like arrested for the finale and then broke out instead of going into hiding. Kind of like the way it played out versus a typical, the cops bring him in again, hold him, then the big realization. So I kind of like the way it plays out.
Yeah, it's fine. So we're getting into the finale here. This is probably my least favorite part of the movie. I do not like the set piece. I do not like Clear's set piece at her house with the live wire and everything. I think it's just too much. It's too, I don't want to say just, I don't know, because we're getting these buildup of Death's design, and Death is getting a little bit more sophisticated and more ruthless. And after the kitchen scene with Miss Luton and Billy just getting decapitated, Death is no joke. So now we get this scene, and Death is kind of struggling if you will. It's kind of like not really. I feel like he could have finished her off like many different times over. So
Yeah,
I
feel
don't
you on
know.
this.
I don't know. How do you feel about this whole set piece? I think it's a little
I,
kind of hokey, and it's a little not as
I
what's the
like
word?
it.
Not as sophisticated in terms
It's a
of Death's design.
little. I'll give. I love this movie, but I'll give you. I don't know if to me it's not as exciting as the finales. I don't know. I don't want to use the word anticlimactic, but I kind of do want to use that
Yeah,
word
I
as
agree.
well.
Yeah,
A little
it's
bit.
very. I was expecting this big finale where Death is like
Right.
its final, push to kill them all, and it's just this weird, like
I
you
know
said, the
they were building
thunderstorm,
up to
and
like Alex like rescuing her and like giving his life to like he's defeating the curse, but I think you had to have a little more build up, like even after she let the dog go away, like make it be like an intense whatever, Death's like chasing her through the house doing crazy or something like that.
yeah,
I kind of feel like it went like boom, boom, boom a little too quick. So I feel you on that. Again, I like it, but it's not. This won't give away my ranking, but it's not the strongest like third act of the franchise by any means.
yeah. It's pretty much just a set piece, like you
It's
said,
straightforward. It's very
in order for
straightforward.
Alex to kind of come and save the day. I mean, you have this live
Right.
wire; she's trapped in her car, and that's kind of it. By the time you blink, she's in her car and she's trapped by this live wire, and you don't
Right, you
really.
have him like
I don't
running
know.
through the
I
forest,
wanted a
and
little
she's
bit
just
more.
like dealing with
Yeah,
that. It's kind of like, and it cuts back and forth between like he's running. The one scene where he gets like dunked under the muddy water, that was like that fucked. Like, oh, that's a little fucked up. But
yeah, that
yeah,
was
no,
pretty
I
intense. Yeah, I like that part.
I agree with you. It's good. I like it. I don't like dislike it, but there's something missing. There's a little bit missing. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm glad we're on the same page with that. Yeah, I agree.
And then he does, the whole sacrifice thing, and she's in the car. A typical, Hollywood ending, and she's screaming, "Alex, no, don't!" And he does, which again, I'm fine with it. And then you flash, thinking like you go to white lights, like is he dead or is he not? And then you get I do love the end though when they cut to 6 months later. I love the Paris of it all.
No, that's fine. It was just
Yeah,
this one set piece that
yeah,
I think is
yeah.
the weakest part of the movie for sure. Yeah, so I mean, there's really not much to talk about. We usually get into like the big climactic ending of these movies, but when we do these reviews, but it's very straightforward. I mean, like again,
Right.
Alex comes and saves the day, and he electrocutes himself and
Mhm.
saves her, and it's this big happy ending. And believe it cuts to six
So
months
we think.
later,
Yep.
which is not a long time. I mean, they
Would
got
you get
over
on a
these
plane
events.
6 months later?
I don't know. I mean,
I love.
Alex,
Kudos to them. but-
Alex. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's especially 6 months. I mean, maybe if it was 6 years, it'd be more realistic. But
I have to be super drugged up to get on the plane 6 months later. I feel
especially
like, or
to
something.
Paris too. I mean, that's not a.
Well, going to their original destination.
Yeah.
But what kudos to them. Carter, Claire, and Alex, they like head out to Paris to like do the class trip that they couldn't do with their classmates and friends. I believe I read that I don't know what the original ending was, but this was reshoots, the ending. So because Claire I mean, it's 6 months later, so they get away with it, but Claire has blonde hair now. She's not the whole movie. Alex is even blonde and all that. So they're sitting at dinner having wine and beers, which I want to go to Paris to do that, but you can tell they're over it. But then Alex has that click in his head and he brings it up, and they're like, God, fucking, he's bringing it up again. But I do like the way it plays out when the wine spills on the paper, obviously like blood. And I do like the sequence of events because you kind of have in this like the ending, you have a little bit of what plays out in the sequels with like the build up. He's hearing the guy play the song. You see whatever is going wrong, the sign fall. It's kind of a build up, which I appreciate. So
Yeah.
I do like the ending, and I
Yeah,
love
it's a
how
good
Carter's like,
transition to the
yeah,
sequels. Yeah.
and I love Carter. He's like, all I know is that I'm the safest motherfucker because you're next, and it's like, he saves him, not knowing that saving Alex just signed his death warrant. So I love how it fucking ends with the sign just fucking smashing him. Cut to credits. I love the ending. The ending I love, but I agree with you about like the third act finale of it all.
No, this is good, and this is what more to expect in the sequels. I feel like this is
For
a good
sure.
way to end the movie. I love how the musician starts playing the John Denver song in French.
Mhm.
That was a good little touch, and he recognizes the tune
Full circle,
on the
yep.
guitar. Yeah, so yeah,
Clever,
it's good.
clever final shot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. So, what do you think? I mean, when you first watched this movie, what did you think that they were all goners, that they were going to die off screen? Our two main characters.
The first time I watched it, I'm like, obviously Carter's dead, but I thought it was gonna be because I can't remember. I think I watched it before. I watched this before the sequel was made or came out, but I just assumed that there was going to be like the Claire and Alex show in part 2. And it isn't. So we'll get to that movie, but it isn't.
Yeah.
So, but I didn't think that they all. Maybe I wondered if the first time I thought that they did all get smashed by. I don't know, but I definitely think as I rewatched, I'm like, okay, good. I'm excited to go on with like Alex and Claire. But what
Yeah, I
about
mean,
you?
it's
You thought them
definitely a
all?
dark ending
Yeah.
because it loops
Yeah.
back around to Carter, which means it's going to loop back around to Alex and
To
Claire
all of
again,
them,
too.
right.
So
Right.
the fact that he dies that ridiculous death, I think, just solidifies their fate. In terms of this first movie, we'll get to the sequels when we get to the sequels, but I think watching this like in theaters when it first came out, I think it's a pretty dark ending, and
And I love me a dark ending. So
yeah.
yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love how it just after that, like you just don't get a time. It just boom, cut to black. You don't get a second to be like process anything. You just credits start rolling. Cue the rock song. We're done. I love it.
Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's Final Destination, guys. Released in
All right.
2000. Made it through the first movie. We got 4 more to go, and then we have the new one, so 5 more to go. And
Woo.
yeah, this is gonna be a fun ride. So it sounds like we're pretty similar in our thoughts. I think obviously you're gonna be a little bit higher than me.
Yeah,
We're not
this is
going to
my
reveal
baby.
our scores
Yes,
this
yes.
episode, so stay tuned for our big finale episode after Bloodlines comes out, and you'll hear our score
I'm
for
so
that.
excited.
But we can get into the Never Split Up moments.
Right.
Since you won, you get to go first, Ant.
Okay. There was 2 that I brought up in the episode. I'm just deciding which one I want to go with. If it's Alex pulling the knife out of Miss Luton, or if it's Miss Luton pulling on that fucking towel with the knives. But I'm gonna go with Miss Luton because you look up, there's knives right below the towel. Like, what were you trying to accomplish? You're already first of all, that towel's not going to do much. By the way, it's not like it's a fucking beach towel. It's a little hand towel. So I'm gonna go that she pulled the towel off the knives, causing the knife to go in her chest and give her the final blow. That was very dumb. Death didn't have to do much to her with that part. She did it all herself with that.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with that. That was a very dumb move. Very stupid. And I get she's like in a lot of pain, but like fuck. It didn't help your cause at all.
Okay. I was thinking of going with Alex, but he's just kind of a dummy
Bad.
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, that's bad. That's
we were
bad.
talking
That's
about
a
how
dummy
he just-
moment.
Yeah, well, not even that moment. I was gonna go with like some different moments. He's just dumb throughout the movie, not leaning on the authorities and kind of just trying to be this one man show, not even leaning on Clear that much. I feel like he tried to take on more than he could do, but because you went with Miss Lewin, I'll go with another character that dies.
Oh,
I won't
fun.
go with Alex. I'll go with Todd. I think the bathtub scene is a textbook example of you're just kind of yelling at the TV, like rooting for Todd to kind of get out of it. And I feel like it was the first kill. It was besides the plane crash. So Death wasn't really established yet in this franchise of being this unstoppable force. So, I can see viewers watching this movie for the first time just screaming at the TV like, dude, you can get out of this. Just compose yourself. Stop freaking. It's easier said than done. You have a fucking wire wrapped around your neck. So I totally don't envy him, but I feel like me personally, I would have been able to kind of keep my cool and stay a little bit calm, cool, and collected. So I think that's the moment for me because he just plays it so wrong. And I feel like it was definitely escapable. I don't know. I feel like he could
You're
have
so
escaped.
right how it makes it so much more sad because if he just didn't get caught up in I don't blame the panic of him dying. You are rooting for him to make it out, so it makes it even more tragic. So I think I agree with you on that. Like you're like fucking like, come on, get out.
Yeah, and
Come on.
it's a shock too. I'm surprised they killed him first.
That's
Honestly,
what I was going to ask you. How do you feel about the order of who dies when? Like, how do you feel about the deaths? So obviously, I was shocked that Ty was the first one to go, but do you think it plays out well, like who they killed off when for the rest of the order?
I would have liked to see Todd live a little longer. I think the dynamic was interesting with his brother dying on the plane crash and the parents and everything. I thought that he was going to be a bigger role. And it was shocking, but so it was effective. But I would have liked to see, I think, him maybe make it towards the end. I thought it was just hilarious that the final 3 was Alex, Clear, and then Carter. It's like Carter is so random in that trio.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty funny. But so that is kind of unexpected. I don't mind Carter being the last one, but I kind of wish Todd lasted a little bit longer. Maybe Terry could have been the first one. Maybe the bus kill could have been the first one, where it's like kind of,
I feel like if anything,
not really that intricate. You're kind of figuring out, wait, okay, so Death is just going to kill these people quickly, and then it kind of builds up into the other scenes. So maybe switch those two. Yeah.
I would too, because I feel like flip-flopping those, I guess it kind of sound fucked up, but like if Todd got in on it a little bit, like just a little inkling of like what Alex is thinking is going on, it would have made that scene even more heartbreaking, which I know is weird to say, but it would have, and it would have had more of an impact. Because if he was like knowing that like Alex has these theories, and then he goes home to his dad who doesn't want him to see Alex, and then he dies, knowing that Death might be out to get them, it would have made it, I feel like, all the more tragic with that ending. So I agree with you on that.
Yeah, he was pretty much totally in the dark because he was the first one to go.
He didn't know really yet, but I do like our Never Split moments. They're two good ones. I love that we both picked death sequences versus Alex doing his dumb shenanigans.
Yeah, so vote for those and our
yes.
polls in our social media channels at Never Split Up Pod. You can find this on X and Instagram. We post the polls, and on YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube. And yeah, we can't wait to cover Final Destination 2, a lot of people's favorite in the franchise. That's a beloved one. It's got some beloved set pieces, and I'm excited to talk Final Destination for the next few weeks with you. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to cover part 2 and the rest of the franchise. And we have all these goodies in store for all these sequels coming up. And guys, I think we're like 15 subscribers away from 300 on YouTube. So if you can go over there, hit subscribe, share the YouTube channel, we'd appreciate it. We're so close to getting to 300.
For sure. And thanks for listening. I think we're gonna do a big recap episode. I think I want to do Bloodlines, and then I want to do an extra episode maybe where we rank them, we give them scores, and I also want to talk about like our favorite set pieces and kills.
Let's do it.
That could be a cool episode.
I think we can do that in the ranking episode, since we're not ranking like 13 like Halloween. We're only ranking.
Yeah, no, all together. I want to do that all together in one big episode.
That would be good. Cool. Yeah. All right, cool.
All right, great. Until next time, this was episode 80 of the Never Split Up podcast. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you later. Bye.